welcome to the Jankyard.
Oh god, you're just starting like that.
Yeah, just starting like that, baby. Just gotta rip the Band-Aid off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm your host this week, Schmendrix, and I've got two indefatigable co-hosts with me. There is Killer Cactus.
Oh, yo.
Calling in from his gamer pad in an undisclosed location.
I wish it was my gamer pad. It's not my gamer pad. It's my kid's gamer pad.
Those are some well-paid interns.
Right?
Yeah, seriously.
And also with us is the treatment.
Yeah, I don't know about, what would you say, indefatigable?
Indefatigable.
Yeah,
Indefatigable. Sure. I'm going to pretend like I know what that means.
I know. I heard the word fatigue or the base word, and I was like, I don't know about that. I'm definitely a little tired today.
You're definitely fatigued.
Yeah.
Well, you've got a lot going on. You're like literally juggling children through a mall. So
that's true. And I'm back to work this week. So there you go.
Oh, that's exciting. How's that going?
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, like, Pat Leap was awesome. I like, it's fun watching and being around and helping Allie and whatever. And going back to work will be a switch up, but I work from home most days, so it's still okay. The chaos will grow. I know your boys run in on you all the time. Rosie does the same.
Yeah, well, luckily the twins, not luckily. Luckily for me, for recording this podcast, the twins are feeling under the weather, so they went right to sleep, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be making any guest appearances tonight, no.
No flossing tips or requests? No.
At least your kids will floss. I gotta fight mine to do stuff like that. They don't even brush their teeth half the time. It's like, go brush your teeth. They just, seriously, it's like, go brush your teeth. And they just like, go to bed. Did you brush your teeth next morning?
So
no.
gross.
I know, right? I'm constantly yelling at them. They just, wait till they get their first cavity and have to get, shots and drills and all kinds of stuff. Maybe they'll freaking do it.
Ah, man, that's got to go on the intern review right there. Does not brush teeth. So we're in the midst of the collection. We're now in the collection top 8. We're not going to talk much about the collection because we're going to dedicate an episode to a collection look back once it's done, or depending on when it's recorded, maybe once the top 8 has settled down to a top 2. And we are also in the middle of a trick or treat tournament, which is entertaining in part because I've got a couple of decks that I won't identify, but a bunch of people are playing, and they're constantly playing each other and with different players playing them, which is funny, and that's entertaining. That has been an awesome event. That's an ideal casual event that Lizzie and Carl put together.
I love it. I love the themed events that go around. So last year she did the Secret Santa one. I hope it comes back again. Which was really cool, but they're just fun, casual ones. And at least for those of us who got kicked out of the collection early or who never joined in the first place, never put their hat in, it's nice to have at least something else going on. Because I know Carl put his monthly tournament thing on pause he's in the top, so it's a lot of extra work to do. But yeah, it's cool, and I know who all the decks are, but between the two of you, I think you guys have the most subscribers to your decks. I mean, Killer's is pretty obvious.
Yeah, I did not realize that the description for the deck would be going in with it when I submitted it. But it did, so whatever. But it does seem like people are at least enjoying that list. I don't know if anyone's playing my other one. But I've seen a lot of people playing that one that you're talking about.
At least one person is.
And it seems like it's been pretty cool, so.
Yeah.
It's from it's from the Duel series.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's supposed to be beginner-friendly decks. And I was like, I didn't pick it knowing that, so I'm playing Killer's deck. I didn't pick it knowing that. I went through the lists. It looked fun to me. Then I read the description. I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm glad I picked something appropriate to my level of competence. But it's been very strong. And I think the combination of the fact that it's a Xander deck with Divine and Nature, the only two colors. It's got Raptor Herders, and it's got a bunch of... it's got Ceresaurus Mount, Frostback Bear, Butterfly Monk as the spell board, and a bunch of alterations. And so it's very happy to stall the game out, which I used to good effect against Treatment in our grudge match.
So angry about that. 18 blood point lead, and I blow it. It's just...
Yeah, I think I did like 6 healing and had 2 life at the lowest point in that game. And then... but it can also push through a surprising amount of damage thanks to the Ceresaur and then the alterations like Wallop, Will to Survive, other things. Like, I've had some really fun plays just Will to Surviving for value, like some of the weenie, like Will to Survive on a Raptor Herder just to get, remove a unit, 2 health unit and heal a life from Xander. That card is so good. And
Power Through. That was another one.
Power Through's good. Power Through pushes some nice damage through. So it's I feel like Xander is easy to sleep on because I don't think he's very flashy, but just 20 health pool plus ally recursion plus if you add in a little healing, he can be so hard to handle.
Yeah, I think I've always undervalued his ability to recur. Not in the sense that, obviously Ceremonial can recur, but when you combine it with his high life pool and something like Butterfly Monk, and then he also gets to recur solutions to problems for no life cost, it's a big deal. I mean, yeah, your effective life in our game was 24, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is tough. On any 16 or 17 life Phoenixborn, that's an 8-point differential. That's a significant amount to make up.
24 doesn't even seem that high when you consider he's got Butterfly Monk.
It might have been 26.
And Will to Survive, and and then every time Xander uses that ability, I kind of view it as a heal one.
Yeah, he's effectively healing.
Right? Yep. Because you're not using Ceremonial to do it like everybody else is. And you have to dip into that color, which is the other cool thing about Xander, is you can play the ally game without having to be in Ceremonial. And not that Ceremonial's bad, it's a great color right now. It's one of the best colors probably, but it's just it made for a nice dual deck, and I say those decks are for are to help new players, but I mean they're built to be competitive, right? They're not just built to be fun. So I'm trying to do everything I can to make them strong, competitive, tournament worthy type decks. And that was an easier one of the batch to build, because Xander can kind of cheat the system a little bit with that ability to go play the ally game. And all those healing cards in Nature and Divine, like you said, can just make it seem like a bit of an insurmountable task. The other thing is Earthquake is such a cool signature card because it's very versatile. That's the wrong word. It fills a bunch of needs when building your deck at the same time, right? Like it can kill a knight and it's AoE at the same time. So when you play 3 of those, you worry less about like, do I need to add Fester to the deck to deal with knights? Do I need to add Nature's Wrath? I think I play that anyway, but like, I think
you have 3.
Yeah. But like you can put other stuff into a Xander deck. I feel like you have extra deck space. Like Xander has extra everything, right? Like that's his thing. He has extra life. He gets extra guys back from the discard pile, and he has extra like deck building space because Earthquake makes it so you don't need to pack a bunch of other removal type answers. Right. It's I agree. I think pretty easy to sleep on him, but those are the reasons he's good.
I think he's also effectively the only or one of 2 Phoenixborn that can actually pull off a successful and relatively easy mount game because of the ability to recur. Like that, the ally dying is the biggest hurdle, especially in round 1. And the fact that he can do it as part of his game plan relatively easy with herders generally, but with anything, is undervalued, or at least under-recognized, because you don't really see Ceresaurus as effective in many other decks, or any mounts for that matter. Demona would probably be the other one, and that tends to be because she's playing a huge ally heavy deck, or, you know, Fallen type of thing where you're already in on that game.
Well, and she doesn't have to take up a spellboard spot for her mount.
That too, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'll be interesting to compare his Earthquake versus what we're presumably going to cover tonight.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those, you know, a lot of these Phoenixborn have these really strong, unique cards that it's like, you know, how are we ever going to replace that? Like, I can't even fathom building Xander without Earthquake. But, I mean, if the new card we get is really good, then maybe we will. But I'm happy that Ceresaurus is seeing some play. I think that's a card that needs to be played more. It's a bit near and dear to me. The first time I made a Shuffle Bus top 8 was a Ceresaurus deck, and I still think about rebuilding that deck. It's not good anymore in the meta, but like it was a Leo burn deck that played Ceresaurus, and it's just really fun. Like, it was just a fun deck, and I really enjoyed the combo back then of I would mount Fire Archer most of the time, and just because it's a burn deck, right? So I'm trying to, like, I play Fire Archer, do a burn damage, mount it with Ceresaurus, attack, do another burn damage, get killed, get the Fire Archer back, play it again, do our burn damage. Like, that was a cool little loop. And then I'm playing Anguish and all the other burn spells, so there was a bunch of burn pressure in the deck. Maybe it's still good. I don't know. I haven't played in a long time. But
it sounds good.
I remember that deck fondly, and Ceresaurus was a big part of it. And you don't see it played very much anymore, so I'm happy to give it a little bit of spotlight.
I agree with you. I think it's... I think something's changed in the meta from the Hope... you know, Value Town meta, which was a very low to the ground meta. I think the proliferation of Ice Trap, and if it's not Ice Trapped, the effect that Adaptodon can have on low attack units, I think has pushed the meta more into a mid-range, like mid-sized units zone. And I think it's in that kind of dynamic that a Ceresaurus is really strong, because it just eats all of the 3 health units. It's got the reach to do that. It's pushing damage through at the same time, and it can often trade up in those situations where it pushes the damage through, removes the unit, and then your opponent still has to invest dice to remove it. And when they do, you get the ally back, which you can potentially play for cheap. So I think it's good in the current. I've had good success with it so far.
I love attacking bears with a Ceresaurus. It feels really good to swing a Ceresaurus at a bear.
Bears are everywhere again. They were gone for a little while, and I feel like they're back with a vengeance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
All right. The last thing I just wanted to say, just to cover in news before the main part of the show is going to be devoted to talking through the Blight of Neverset cards, the player cards that are coming out. But just wanted to give a shout out to Chaos Theory, who's been, I think, really deep in the work of trying to get to some sense of common understanding of deck archetypes and strategies, or at least terms we can use to mean the same thing. And I know it's been frustrating at times for him on the Discord to be leading that conversation, but I actually feel like the conversation's been very productive. Like, I think there's been a lot of agreement, more than I've seen in the past, and we've gone deeper, and it's been fun to see newer players, I think, since the last time we had these conversations, who have had good competitive success, like Fred and others weighing in. And, you know, there's no consensus, because common definitions of terms are really hard to establish, especially in even a small community like ours. It can be hard to do, but I do think, I don't know, I feel like we've made a bunch of progress in at least getting to some common understandings of, like, what does a fast deck in Ashes do? Like, which rounds is it trying to push pressure through? How would you know that something is a fast deck? So I just wanted to, it's been a really fun conversation to see evolve, even if it's been frustrating at times for Chaos Theory in particular. I don't know what you guys have made of that conversation.
I've really liked it. I mean, it's interesting that most of the fundamental underlying details of how Ashes works, it turns out that a lot of us have similar thoughts, not necessarily full agreement on everything, but there's, you know, the concepts of bypass or going wide, going tall, stalling out. Those things didn't seem to really create any stir. It was what the actual terminology was, like the single word type of thing that we wanted to use, the moniker, and especially because we're trying to adapt it to terms that other games use and other players from other games coming in would naturally understand. And so trying to draw parallels from other games to Ashes, even though Ashes is fairly different, that's where I think most of the disagreement and confusion arose. But I'm hopeful. Who knows? Maybe by the time this is actually put out, maybe in a few weeks from now, we'll have something. Really, it's just a matter of like, let's start with something and then push and pull rather than like, I think we've done enough brainstorming at this point.
Yeah, I applaud the effort. He's your graphing buddy.
Yeah.
That's a shout out. I'm a big fan of these graphs that you've been doing on the individual matchups, actually.
Oh, they're amazing.
Thank you. It's been fun to work on.
A really cool little summary of a game to get a quick snapshot of here's what happened, here's, you know, how everything went down, why things happened the way they did. It's kind of a quick little nice way to see that stuff. So those are really cool, man.
I think visually you can understand or see sometimes things that you can't via text or, you know, game log or just even watching, right? This, like, I compared this on the Discord a few times, but if any of you guys play games on Board Game Arena, most of the games at the end have a detailed breakdown of the stats, depending on whether or not, I guess, you're a premium member. But that's really interesting to me. And if we could see something like that at the end of each game on Ash Techie with a little graph that also visualizes it, that would be super cool. And if on Ashes.live or again Ash Techie, I don't really care, but if you could look at a deck and see some sort of pentagram or some sort of graph, I don't care what the shape is, that tells you the rough shape of the deck or what it's trying to do,
right,
that would be really cool. Like this deck is, you know, like in video games when you used to like
choose your fighter.
Yeah, choose your fighter or choose your vehicle, and it would show all the different stats of acceleration and all that. If we had that for decks, that would be really cool.
I mean, even if it was just like, you know, this many charm costs and this many nature costs and this, you know, that this many main action and side action costs, stuff like that. Like, here's how much dice is in your spell board every round. Like, those types of things would be really cool, even if we don't get into like the, you know, how punchy or birdy is this deck that I'm trying to play. But just like the color stats and stuff, I think would be really cool to see at a glance.
Yeah, like the Bowers math, the stuff that Charlotte does by hand.
Yeah.
Well, I say Charlotte. I know there's like 3 or 4 players like Shadowfire and Waves or whatever, but yeah, that type of math would be really cool because it's pretty straightforward, right? Like you just need the cards. That's not even subjective stuff.
Agreed. No,
yeah, that's pretty easy. I mean, easy to talk through. I don't know how easy it is to code.
None of us do. What Skak and Dijon do is pure magic to me.
Yeah.
It's the classic, your client just says, oh, it's just easy, just code it. And you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You think it takes a day. This is going to take a month.
And Dijon he's actually already built the capability, automatic tallying of some of the statistics that I've been analyzing by hand into games. So it's already underway. I think like a month from now, maybe even by the time this is released. And this is really exciting to even think about. I feel like we will have the potential to not just look at individual games, but analyze data sets about games, a whole bunch of games with similar decks. And that's super exciting to me because I think once we can do that, then we'll actually be able to quantify like how fast is a fast deck? Like typically how much damage, what's the top in all of the games played on Ash Techie over a given month? What's the top 20%? How much damage was dealt by the top 20% of the fastest decks? Like, what does that distribution look like? Is it like 6 damage in the first round? Is it 8? So I think there's going to be I think we're going to get a lot of insights. I'm excited.
Yeah, seems cool.
I don't think we can praise Dijon enough, man. That guy has been doing, especially lately in the last.
Where would we be?
I just honestly
playing on TTS and hating it, probably.
Yeah, this community is just being held up right now by one man's efforts.
By mustard.
Yeah.
It's our only condiment. We're going to stick with it.
So shout out again for his Patreon because it's so well deserved.
Agreed. All right. Well, there is no newer set than Neverset, so I think we should talk about it. It is not yet out. Hopefully, could be out by the time this podcast drops. I think we've got a couple more weeks of previews. It is the Charm set, and it comes with another Chimera, the Blight of Neverset. And we don't know much about the Chimera cards yet. I think we know hardly anything. We haven't. Those previews are yet to come. But all of the player cards have been spoiled, so I thought we could talk through them. And wanted to start with the signatures. So the 4 Charm Phoenixborn here, and there was some speculation as to whether like Auric would be included, for example, but it is Leo, Maoni, Astria, and Saria are the 4. And maybe we can start with Leo's Gifted Rose. It's a alteration spell that attaches to a Phoenixborn. Side action, 1 basic cost. You attach it to the Phoenixborn, and that attached Phoenixborn cannot guard while that spell is attached. They can reject the Gifted Rose with a side action and basic cost or discard of their own, and it discards the spell. Be curious what y'all make of this.
This one's hard for me. It seems as though there can be certain situations in which this is really, really good. Round 1, for instance, you, as a player against Leo, don't necessarily want to plan your first 5 around spending a die or discarding a card on this. So, when it was just Anguish, it's like, okay, I can just take, if I don't want to mess with my first 5, I can just take 4 damage. That's fine. Here, you've got to basically plan out a 9 die first 5. Unless you've got something in your first 5 that's naturally going to draw a card. If you're playing Abundance already, you're playing, I don't know, Squall Stallion, Sheep, something that's Shimmer Wing, we'll talk about in a little bit. So something that's going to draw a card naturally without you having to spend any extra dice. This thing's going to be a pain for you because it basically is just going to say Leo gets to attack whatever he wants the whole round. That seems really good. Now, I don't know. I mean, I just talked a little bit about how I used to have a Leo aggro deck, and maybe, well, if aggro is the right term, right? But a Leo deck that likes to attack things. I don't know if that's Leo's best avenue. I don't like to attack stuff when I play Leo usually. But this might give him more of a reason to come back into that arena a bit. And at the very least, it's a side action, so you do at least get 1 attack if you want it before the opponent has a chance to reject the rose. And it's like that's hilarious, like thematically to me. I see like Leo kneeling down giving this rose, and like while he's doing that, his like cobra's running over attacking something like before they have a chance to like say no, I don't want it. But you do get that 1 stock attack, right? So it's kind of like a mini Hunter's Mark for the turn you play it, but you got to have it in your hand. After round 1, it's obviously you get that 1 attack, like you get that 1 stock attack. Is that worth a side action and a basic die and a card? I don't know. Assuming your opponent just rejects it immediately afterwards and you don't get any more, they are up on either dice or cards compared to you because you have to spend a die and a card and a side action to play this. they only have to spend a side action and either a die or a card to get rid of it. So it trades down, but the idea is that you get that one stock attack that should make up for that trade down. And that's where I'm not 100% sure that this gets there for me. Like, I need to see... I've not played with this card yet, so I need to see, where are the situations at in which I really want this stock attack right now. And is it worth me packing this card over Anguish, which admittedly is not a great card, so this is going to find its way into some Leo decks anyway, because it's not really replacing an excellent card. But it's going to depend on what the rest of your deck is trying to do, and if it's not going to do well in defensive decks, I don't think. It's going to have to be a more aggressive type Leo deck, and I do see the round one use like that feels very good to me. But I think we need to see. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people play nature dice, right? Can you just build a 9-die first 5 and frog ping something if they don't play Gifted Rose? Like, that's still not bad. So I don't know. I think the jury's still out for me on this one.
I initially thought it was interesting, and the more I evaluate it or try and think of a deck that I want it even over Anguish, I'm struggling. I think the costs are all wrong. So either I think it should have been just free for Leo, like just side action, no dice, and at least try and trade on the resources, like make it somewhat cost your opponent compared to you. Because like you said, it costs you a card and a die to do something. And it's only for stock, which doesn't even necessarily matter in many situations. And
it's not even stock. I guess we should say that. Like, it just prevents the Phoenix Born from guarding. If you have
it
unit
doesn't
guard,
stop
it doesn't
unit
get
guard.
around
Yeah, that exactly. Yeah. So it's worse. And then I don't like the reject cost. I don't like that it's a side instead of a main. So at least it feels like the Phoenix Born, your opponent doesn't lose any tempo. It's a main or a single discard, which does not feel. Basic, sorry.
A basic or a discard, yeah.
Basic or a discard, which doesn't feel good enough. Like, I would have liked to at least see 2 basics or 2 discards.
That'd be really, really, really good.
Well, I know. It's so, again, this comes down to, like, the difference in... I'm not saying all 3 of these changes at once. I'm saying I would have liked to see some sort of change, or even just both, right? Like, Mind Maze, if we think of Mind Maze as a comparison to discarding an alteration, that costs more, and that's only on a single unit, and this is potentially not affecting the game at all.
I don't know you can say that. I think it affects the game quite a bit if you're not playing it in a deck where you're not going to want to attack stuff.
No, you want to attack, but I'm just saying your opponent doesn't have to guard whatever, and if they are already on unit guards, which this set comes with, right? Comes with Badger. We've already started seeing an uptick in things like Turtle to deal with Bear or whatever. Gilder is never going anywhere. Butterfly Monk, we just talked about Xander's deck with it, and it's just generally a good unit. I don't know. There's just enough guarding going around that it's like, who cares?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that this card has going for it is that Carl thinks it's the best signature card. I don't know why, but Carl does. So it's got to have something going for it.
Yeah.
I will say this. I mean, I think I am very interested in exploring the design space in Leo that makes this card valuable in Leo. I think I also like an aggressive Leo. I think one of the nice things that I will say about it being a better round 1 card than a later game card is that I think Anguish has the opposite problem. I know there are some Leo players who like to first 5 Anguish. I really don't like that play. I think I've talked about that at length in the past. So this gives a nice bookend. And because it's an alteration, if you do want the option of playing it later, you could run Polarity Mages potentially to bring it back, and you could just have a one of that you play round 1 with the option to bring it back later. The only other thing I will note is I think the fact that it just prevents Phoenix-born guard but not unit guard is important to note. But I also think that naturally draws my eye to the space of Hammer Knight and Sonic Swordsman. Like, is there a Knight Leo build where you're going to get the kickers from those units? And then finally, and this is a bit at odds with that idea, but although perhaps not. I mean, both of those units are alert. He's got other, he's got Beast Tamer in his pre-con. I wonder about situations in which you try and wait out the round and try and play this, at the very end of the round when your opponent doesn't have a dice up for it, has spent all their cards, and you can see if you can get it to last over the turn in the round. And I think alert units that you can hold back to defend for Leo while you set that up could be useful.
I mean, okay, if we're talking like what could it be good in, I think Quick Strike is a good synergy, because those, like you've already listed knights that have extra value on after destroy, but also Quick Strike in general tends to be something that you unit guard, because that is similarly an uneven trade. So whether you're doing that with light swordsman, well, I guess that's not a really good thing because you can't side attack, and also do gifted rose, but Cloudburst Griffin. Yep,
which is almost a bird.
Yeah. And maybe Sarasaurus is something with Overkill is similarly, where you're placing bad trades. This is a battle trick card ultimately, and I don't know that it necessarily steers him enough towards swing decks, if we're gonna stick with that terminology. But I don't know.
My thought is you have to be able to build a deck that Herald can't do better. To do
good luck. I don't think a deck like that exists.
No, Hunter's Mark is just a straight up better gifted rose that is printed on Herald's Phoenixborn card. It's not straight better, right? Because gifted rose can get you multiple attacks if you get it to stay for a while. But I can't imagine anybody arguing with me when I say Hunter's Mark is better than Gifted Rose. If we just set the two next to each other. The question becomes whether Glowfinch then is better. Glowfinch and 3 life is better than Consume Soul.
I mean, personally, I think it is.
Well, it might be. But is it enough better? Is it better enough to justify building that type of deck in Leo? I don't think it is, but you don't have Gifted Rose available every attack, or every time you need it, which people are going to argue with me that Hunter's Mark isn't available every time you need it, but it darn sure feels like it is when people are running 3 Consume Souls.
Yeah,
and I don't know. If like you don't see the Quick Strike stuff in Herald happen very often. You don't see the Sarasaurus stuff in Herald happening very often. You do see the Sonic Swordsman Hammer Knight stuff. And I think that's a potential avenue to go. But again, it's not guaranteed that you have this thing.
Right.
You can run 3 of them and 3 Polarity Mages, and then if you first 5 Gifted Rose, you have a good chance to have it. You can play Reinforce and do stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm just on the fence. I need to see it.
I need to see it too, but I just think the discard cost or the option. I think the optionality of the cost is the problem for me, because even if you try to say, okay, this is end of round, and I'm going to play it, and the opponent has any card, that I don't know. It's not pushing any other condition, and it's not even guaranteed that it's going to stick, and it doesn't trade well with anything. It feels very much like a 1-turn, 1-trick pony, and that's an issue.
Right. We've spent
Garbage
a
tier.
really long time on Gifted Rose.
That should be the most divisive unique card, though.
Probably. Although I am now confronted by the wall of text that is Maeoni's card. So I just want to say, we haven't talked about the spells yet, but if you're not familiar, the spells and the units too in this set are very focused on cheating charm dice out onto your opponent's units without having to spend them for that purpose. So I think that's important context for this card. So the card is Venom Strike. It's an action spell, main action, basic, 1 basic. Choose a target opponent, discard X cards off the top of their draw pile, deal X damage to their Phoenixborn, then place each charm die on that opponent's exhausted units into its owner's exhausted pool. So that's, I think, just really an upkeep sentence to get your dice back. So play a bunch of charm dice on your opponent's cards, and then mill and deal damage to them equal to the number of dice you've gotten out there.
It's not simply I originally thought it was an upkeep cost, just to be clear, but then Carl or Chaos Theory was like, well, if you didn't have that last line, say you had 3 charm dice out there, then 1 basic cost, deal 3 damage, mill 3, next turn,
right, and you'd be able to immediately
do it again.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So that's the issue. You can't back to back it.
Yep.
Which would be crazy value. 2 basic costs for 6 mil and 6 damage. That would be absolutely bonkers.
I don't like this card.
You don't like it? Like, you don't like it personally, or?
I don't think it's good.
Oh, okay.
I at least all right, maybe that's too extreme. I don't like how it forces me to build a deck, I guess. I really don't like it from a deck building standpoint. I want to, and this is going to sound silly because you're going to tell me that it does both, but like when I'm building, I always want some kind of pressure tactic, whether that be burn or fatigue or whatever, to pressure my opponent. This thing does both of them. And so I guess it can go and you can do either one with Maeoni with this, but if you want to do that, you have to invest so much crap now into charming your opponent's units to make this thing work. And Maeoni doesn't want to be charming. She doesn't want to. No, she doesn't. She wants to kill stuff and let the snake eat it. That's what she wants to do. She doesn't want to weaken it. She doesn't want to jump over it. She wants to kill it. Like, I don't want to put cards in my deck that focus on putting charm dice onto stuff. I just want to kill the stuff, I guess.
Nah.
I think that's my main problem with this card. I don't want to leave stuff on their board to power this up. I want to kill it, let the snake eat it, and make the snake get bigger. Like, that's what Maeoni should be doing. And if she's gonna play, like, there's no universe in which she plays 3 of these and not Silver Snake. I don't care what anyone says. People are gonna argue that. I don't care. There's no universe in which you don't do that. But if you're gonna play the snake, I just think I'd rather just kill the guys. I don't want to leave them around with charm dice on them so that I get to Venom Strike them for 3 damage. Hot take if you want, but that's where I'm at.
I wasn't like high on this, but the more I think of deck building, I actually think it's really cool. Now, I don't know that I would do a 3 of, but definitely 2 and 1 of Snake I think is really cool. And
yeah, that's what everyone's going to do.
Sure, but I mean, so that's good because Snake is already good, so it shouldn't be so absurdly pushed.
Agreed.
And it's 1 basic for if you do it right. I would say on average you're probably getting 2, like easy enough, 2 damage, 2 mil, which is fine, right? I mean, if you think of Finch or Abundance or whatever, 1 die for 2 mil, but it's also getting 2
matter
damage.
Though.
Well, it does, but it's pushing her, I think, into a direction where she has an alternate condition and also the ability to get earlier damage on the board, which is important. So it doesn't make her dependent on sort of a 1-shot or just 2-shot kill. And it also gives her the time to set Snake up. So you want, like, the ability to play, say, Royal Charm plus, Chimera Charmer, which we'll talk about later, and get second value out of the charm die that you're already spending on the Snake, and then getting another charm die on units so that they can't pressure the Snake for killing it, and then later being able to use this to also get burn damage and mill. I don't know. I think it's got everything that she wants. It helps you against decks that go wide, because you're not going to be able to block or guard everything. So you just place your charm dice on the wide threats.
You just play a board wipe and gain 5 status tokens if they go wide.
There's no reason you can't do both. I don't know. I think there's a lot of really cool decks that you can do, and for 1 basic costs, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with Killer.
You guys are against me today.
Sorry. What do you mean? It's just this. I don't know if Gifted Rose is good. I think it gives her another side game, but it's like both a very complicated side game that doesn't actually have very obvious synergy with the other side game she's playing, and it's a pretty complicated engine. Like, I was just we haven't talked about these cards yet, but hopefully some folks who've looked at them, but I'm going through the cards in the set, and there's actually not, I just said this is all about cheating cards on, but there's really not that many. I think there's 2 that kind of cheat cards on. There's the Chimera Charmer, and then there's Snake Bite, another snake card. But Snake Bite doesn't actually, we'll get to this, it doesn't really synergize with just the mill plan. It's probably slightly better synergy with the Snake. I hear you, Treatment. I do think it's interesting to think about putting charm dice on on a few units that therefore make it harder for them to hit the Snake. But I just struggle. I feel like this is going to be a deal 2 damage to your opponent's Phoenixborn and mill 2 like 95% of the time. Chaos was saying he was regularly getting to like 3 and 4, and I don't know. I feel like to hit the heights of 3 or 4 charm dice on your opponent's units, if you could do it, I think that would be strong, but that's pretty expensive. I think you'd have to be actually placing those charm dice out there, and I'm not sure about the value proposition of that. So I don't know. I think this is one that I need to get a feel for playing it, but it feels very complicated for relatively low upside.
Like, I could see Maoni building some kind of weird blood puppet deck or something where she throws a bunch of puppets on the other board and then starts putting charm dice on them, and then Venom Strike. Like, I could see that, but like, you can't tell me that's better than playing a Silver Snake, killing everything, and hitting them for 20. I don't know. I do think that there's other stuff coming that, well, I'm not going to say anything else, but Maoni might need a reason to have another game she can play, and it's nice that she can go in a different direction. I just don't think this thing, like, you look at her ability that says kill a guy, and then you look at Silver Snake and it says when you kill guys I get better, and this thing neither kills guys.
It actually wants you to keep guys alive.
Right. It's actively doing the opposite. It's like, leave them on the board so that I get better. And in order for that burn damage or that mill fatigue, whatever, discarding cards off the top of someone's deck to be impactful, you have to have other stuff in your deck to do that. If you play 3 Venom Strikes and no other mill cards, then the mill doesn't matter. It literally does nothing. It's not, they're not going to fatigue them out with 3 Venom Strikes, and you're also not going to burn them out with 3 Venom Strikes. So you have to commit to one or the other, plan B, and Maoni's already kind of really wants to be the bypass plan B. So I don't know. This card just doesn't. I mean, I guess it works if you don't want to play Silver Snake.
Yeah.
In
if
my
you're bored
mind.
of Silver Snake, which
Yeah,
I am,
but
so.
But like, I mean, if I'm looking at it from a competitive standpoint, I just can't pick up Maoni and not play Silver Snake. So I don't know that I want this.
I like it. I mean, it's an easy two.
I mean, it's fun. Like, don't get me wrong.
It's got cool art. Big
Yeah.
green-throated snakes. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of cool art, Judgment. Very simple card. Astria's new signature. Main action, side action, 2 basic dice, 1 discard. Destroy all units. Let us replace this vexing existence with one more worthy of me.
Astria's not a very nice person.
No. No.
You look at a lot of her like cards and flavor text. She's not very nice.
If you're not worshiping her, she wants you dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at like these other, you have like Maoni's giving people hugs and stuff, and Leo's giving them roses and trying to be nice. Astra's like, I'm gonna freaking kill you.
I don't think Leo's very nice either. I'm not gonna go to bat for Leo. Yeah, but Astria for sure.
Well, they've all got that psychotic, like you're with me or you're the enemy type of thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's in all of their themes. Saria with her dinner party,
yeah,
and Leo with his cabal or
yeah, Maoni, Leo, and Saria are like, they're like playing these little manipulation games. Astria is just like, I'm gonna wreck you. Yeah. Like you bow down or you die, like you said.
But look at Neil, right? Neil's her card, same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's like, bow down, man. Like that's it. I think this is the best unique of the 4. I think this is the strongest card. I don't know that any of us really know how to use it well right now, but this card scares me way more than the other 3 do. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know what else. I don't know what to do with it. I'm sure there is some crazy first 5 in which you get a bunch of value and then blow everything up and make that good. I don't know what that is, but this card scares me a lot more than the other cards do.
I came around the day it was released and there was a bunch of discussion, and then I don't know, I guess that night I was thinking about builds, and it's interesting. I think it's at the very least it's one of the most interesting cards because it is all units, so it's not one-sided. It's got the discard cost and the side, like its main side, which means timing is very interesting in terms of playing it, not just how you fit it into your actual game plan. Definitely, to me, like things like Burn seem interesting, and potentially, I don't know. With her battlefield, it makes it feel like you want to just push your opponent to have to go wide and setting them up, all while doing something like a burn plan. And then as soon as they get too wide or they put down something as soon as you put down a knight, it's worth wiping, right?
Well, she already hard counters with her Phoenixborn ability, a tall strategy. So I think this really complements her Phoenixborn ability really nicely, and has the potential to really help her stall a game out. I mean, between 3 of this, 3 Neil, 3 Meteor, it's like good luck building battlefield threats against her.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need to, I don't think, go obviously that far, but there's definitely talk about sort of the all removal, and then I don't know what your game plan is, but
all the board wipes, the wipe my Astria deck that I'm gonna build.
yeah, exactly.
It's happening.
I don't know. You have to play this with Burn, right? I mean, you could play it with Mill. That would.
Yeah, you can play it with Mill.
Would be interesting. Put a bunch of doves down, and then as soon as they build up enough bypass, you're just like, oh, sorry. Not only are you getting now milled from the doves, but your entire game plan went the wrong way.
I hope it's not too oppressive.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, well, I was going to say something else, but I'm going to say this first now. I played a bunch of card games, and this card, Destroy All Units, exists in every card game I've ever played. And in every card game I've ever played, it's amazing. So I mean, I know Ashes isn't every other game, but I feel like there's people are gonna find a way to make this really good.
Yep.
Somehow, some way. I keep thinking about Safeguard in combination with it. I went through that little spat like 6 months ago where I got all into playing Safeguard offensively, like attacking wide, and then people just like, oh, I'll just take some damage, no big deal, and then I'll crack back, and then I side action Safeguard, so they can't do that, and then next turn play Meteor or something, or Kneel or whatever. And this is like a foolproof version of that. But Astria doesn't really have, a big battlefield to make a wide swing, but she can like swing her Sonic Swordsman or something, and they Phoenixborn guard it, and they're like, aha, the alert unit's down. Now I can swing, and then you Safeguard, then you play Judgment to wipe everything, and then the first thing they put back down on their next turn, you get to Beguile and exhaust it. I don't know. I feel like this. I just look at a card that says kill everything, and I feel like it has to be good.
Yeah.
All right. Willpower. Saria. Main action. 1 basic. Deal damage to a target unit an opponent controls equal to the number of cards in your hand. Can we just all agree that this is a good card and move on, or does anyone have insights to offer?
It's good. And I think it's nice that it actually pairs with I don't want to say arguably one of the worst abilities, but definitely I think people don't appreciate her ability even as a mill helper. And so this is just icing on the cake, I think, and fits into her plan. Like, it's just nicely designed. It's also, I guess, probably one of my, I don't know. I like the art. Can we talk about, like, why is Leo's art so bad? Why is Gifted Rose just terrible?
It's not my favorite art in the set.
It's so weird to me that the other 3 uniques all feature the Phoenixborn as the mainstay, and then this one's like, hey, do you want to look at Leo's bun, like, and the back side of him?
Man bun?
Yeah.
Not even his good buns, just his man bun. I mean, come on. All right.
No, it's generically good. Potentially some good synergy with like Abundance and some stuff. Like it does make me want to play Abundance in Saria a little bit more.
How much damage do you need to do to one unit?
Why?
Well, it's not that. It's more. Now I can wait until like the middle of the round to wipe a knight. Like, what you start the round, there's not a target. I want to play a couple cards. Now I don't have my willpower line anymore, and I can abundance my hand back up and then do it. But yeah, either way, it's a generically good card for sure.
All right, we're gonna get into the units now, and gonna start with the 2 ready spell conjurations. And the first one is Bastion Badger. It's a main action book, no book tax, and for a main action, exhaust, charm, basic, place a Bastion Badger conjuration onto your battlefield. Then you may raise 1 charm class die in your active pool 1 level. And then its ability is Unit Guard. This unit may guard a unit that is being attacked. And Exploit 2. While this unit is in battle with a unit with a charm die on it, the attack value of this unit is increased by 2. And it's a 1/3 with Recover 0.
So I don't know. I think the theme for me of all of these cards is I keep waffling on them so much, in my opinion. When I first saw it, I was like, eh. And then I started thinking of some decks and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then I started reevaluating. I'm like, well, but the floor or the average play, it feels like a combo piece. Like, if you don't have the sort of charm stuff, then who cares? But it's still like, it's, first of all, what I like is it's 3 life, which is good, especially for a unit guard.
Key break point. Yep.
Yeah. It's a key break point. It's sort of on the steadfast level, except it doesn't have alert. But on the other hand, it has a basic sync, which is really cool. And it has upside of 3/3. So that's really cool.
And there are 2 of them.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Okay, yeah. So that's kind of cool. So it does have the resilience, and if you are also playing with charm, that's really interesting. So I guess ultimately, if you're playing it in the deck that it's meant to be played in, I think it's really solid. I don't think it's one of the generically good type of cards that you're going to see slotted into regular, maybe 1 or 2 charm splash decks. But if you're going in on the charm plan, this is a really, and it's one of the coolest arts. I mean, I know you want to build a Redwall deck. This guy he's awesome. Like as soon as we saw him in the rule book, it was like, this guy he's so badass. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I like him in the right deck.
I think I agree. I don't have a lot of thoughts on this dude.
Okay, he's a Badger.
He's good.
I think he's the 3rd best charm associated unit guard behind Gilder and Steadfast. I would take both of them over this guy, but I think in the right deck, he has a higher ceiling than them. But I think Steadfast is crazy underplayed. Yep. Like alert unit 1/3, and Gilder is not crazy underplayed, just really good. So I like Badger. He's got a cute shield.
It's worth noting that you don't need to be in another color to play him. But
true.
Yes.
And it is nice to have the basic sync. But I mean, he's good. Again, my issue with a lot of these cards is I'm not so sure. I mean, I know some of these cards give you free charm dice, but like it just feels like work to me to get charm dice on stuff to make this stuff matter. I know that it happens for free with some of the cards we're going to talk about, but like it's still some work, and it's gonna make you commit hard into charm as a color. Right. I think to make you do that stuff. So that's where I need to kind of see that stuff play out. But I mean, a 3-life unit guard is always going to be good. So
I want that because that's an interesting point, and I've been trying to wrestle with it based off of our history of
getting most things right.
Yeah, getting most things right, but also advocating for Frog Up, Wolf Down. Wolf Down. I mean, Frog Up was always the easy one. Wolf Down, I think, is still undervalued, underplayed. Is this set or
Charm
this card
out.
Or whatever? Yeah.
Charm out.
Is it now something that you would
Snake
ever consider as part of your plan? Snake out. We'll work on it. We'll workshop that.
Do you want to snake out with Leo? That sounds so bad.
I don't. There's got to be a better phrase.
The opinions and comments of Schmendrix don't necessarily mirror those of the Jankyard podcast.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty. I think prior to this set, I think it was probably the most situational, weakest of the dice powers. It requires. Actually, that's not true. Time is up there too, but it requires you either to have a really clear plan that wants to make use of it, like in support of bypass, or your opponent needs to be doing something. It sort of depends on what your opponent's doing. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's talk about the rest of it. Let's get through these cards. Shimmer Wing is the other spellboard summon. Basic book. Summoning cost is 1 basic, exhaust, and a charm class. Draw 1 card. Place a Shimmer Wing conjuration onto your battlefield. The Shimmer Wing is a 0/2, and it's got a Ritual Flame ability, basic dice, and a main action. Discard this unit and another Shimmer Wing you control to place an Eternity Flame conjuration onto your battlefield. The Eternity Flame is a 3/3 with the Engulf ability. When this unit comes into play, you may destroy a target unit an opponent controls with a charm die on it. If you do, deal 2 damage to that opponent's target Phoenixborn. So there's a little bit of a chain here from Shimmer Wings to Eternity Flames.
Little mini game, yeah. I waffled on this one too. I initially
Waffle House. That's what I'm gonna call you.
Initially didn't like it at all, and then obviously there's the synergy of like drawing a card is really cool. It's probably one of the best parts of the book, in my opinion, because I'm really not sure how often you're going to get off the chain. But at the same time, if one of those cards, I think Chaos was saying, or maybe it was you, Schmen, where it's like, it's one of those cards that has to be answered, which just means it's a resource sink for your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes is good enough, because the upside of it is a problem. And so I'm not sure how often you'll be able to Eternity Flame, but definitely if you build your deck such that the other threats are even worse or are more immediate, then that's when I think this becomes really interesting.
I'm pretty hyped for this card. I don't know that it's good. It's certainly like janky good. And at the very least, it might be actually good, but it's certainly janky good, and that makes me excited to play it. It's a Jericho card.
Yep.
And I'm here for it because I love Jericho. I think she needs some more stuff. And first of all, any ready spell that says draw a card she wants to play, because she can it combos with prepare really nicely. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you want to prepare another Shimmerwing book so that you can play 2 of them, which is great. Thirdly, you want to blink the crap out of Eternity Flame because the come into play ability is amazing. So, like, it just, Jericho loves everything about this. So I'm just going to build Jericho with Shimmerwing. That's number 1. I think Fiona likes it a lot too.
Yeah, Fiona's what I was going to say.
Draws a card and her ability can refresh it to make another one. So those 2 Phoenixborn are 2 kind of underused Phoenixborn that I think get a lot of benefit out of this card being printed. So I'm glad it's printed for those reasons. Otherwise, it is a good card. I do think burn decks can gain something here out of this. I mean, it does 2 burn damage. It draws cards, which burn decks, like Ishman, you were talking about this in I think in our private chat earlier. It draws cards which burn decks want to see, and it provides it. Even if it doesn't get to Eternity Flame, it gives you a couple stout blockers to hold the battlefield down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's a generically interesting burn card. I think it's like you said, I think the draw is valuable. I think it's another nice way of converting Charm Die into burn, other than just Sympathy Pain, if you can actually get the Eternity Flame off. So I'm interested to see what this card can do, for sure.
It's important to note, though, that the Engulf, so the Eternity Flame come into play ability, makes it part of a combo piece because it destroys a target that has a Charm Die on it. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad, but it's something to take into consideration when building, that you do need probably Royal Charm or the Chimera Charmer, which we'll get to, in order to make that valuable. Because otherwise you're just paying 3 dice for a 3/3, basically. And that's you're not really good. You need that.
And a lot of main actions. Yeah.
With a burn.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get burn unless you blow something up.
Right, I'm just saying in the case that you blow something up, you're paying. Well, that's 4 dice for a 3. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you actually pay for the charm die too.
You really need something that cheats the die, or smuggle. Is that the new word we're using? That you smuggle the dice in.
Smuggle the die on there.
Then it becomes really interesting because you put it on a knight that they put down, and not only have you devalued their urgency to attack, but then, you've also put the pressure point on blowing it up as well for, at least even dice, which is good, but then also getting the burn effect. So it's really cool in that sense. Again, so a lot of these cards, I like the fact that they are designed around not just being necessarily generically good, but doing the theme of the set, which is going quickly back to my problem with Frostwild, which is just that every card was generically good, and Corpse of Eros to me felt very thematic and very like put those pieces together type of thing. And this this is why I really like this set as a whole, as a design concept, even though I might not be super high on any of the individual cards.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about the two allies because they're very tied into that theme. Talk about Rose Gardner first. It's a main action, 1 basic, 1/1 with 1 recover. It comes in with a Prune 1 ability. When this unit comes into play, you may remove 1 status token from a target unit or spell. And then it's got Cultivate 1. So it's a free side action, doesn't require an exhaustion. Change 1 charm die in your active pool to a side of your choice.
One of the best cards of the set. Just so much value for 1 basic die. I love it. That's my high level take.
Yeah, I think it's very good as well. I mean, obviously you're going to see, it's nice to have something printed that, you know, hurts Pact and hurts Fallen. I don't know if it hurts them significantly, but it at least does something to them, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
Or at least, I mean, Ice Adaptation did hit Phoenix Attendant, but like this thing just wipes Chant of Transfusion out and says, you need another ally to die now, which I really like.
And Guilt Link.
Yeah, and Guilt Link too. And takes tokens off Fallen books and a bunch of stuff. Yep. I'm sure that myself and probably Red King will build some augury garbage where you play one of these and you take a token off of your own augury to go get a 2-cost card. Like that's, well, I'm sure I'll do that.
Yeah.
Do it in Jericho. Blink it. Take 2 tokens off.
Yeah, blink it. Or I was actually thinking about James with Fallen, right? So you play augury, you play a Rose Gardner to knock a token off. You use the ability to play a second Rose Gardner and knock another token off. Then you go, then you can go get a third Rose Gardner with augury, but I don't think we need to do that. You go get a card with augury.
Go get a Rising Horde.
Yeah, or whatever. And then you.
Oh no, that's 2 costs, right?
Or well, you could use augury when it's a 2 to go get a Rising Horde.
Yeah.
And then
right.
you use the ability to knock the third token off. Then you play Gates, and you go get your second Fallen book with augury, and then top of round 2 you get your third book.
Yeah, or you just play 1 Open Memories, but whatever.
But you get the third book too now, guaranteed at the top of the round.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Anyway, it's not good. I'm gonna do that, but it's not good.
Yeah, I think Rose Gardner is also another cool potential piece in a burn deck. Especially if Spin Down becomes more prominent, it's nice to be able to turn your charm dice up for sympathy pain.
And all of the other reactions that Charm has. A snake die showing is freaking scary.
It's very true.
And this thing just puts them up there, right?
Yeah.
I think it makes Ruby Cobra a heck of a lot better, honestly.
Do you think people are going to remember that Call to Action is a card now? Because I really hope they don't. I love playing. No one expects it.
Now, people forget it all the time. Even when you know it's in the list, you're like, I don't know when they're going to play it. I think it's hilarious that it has Recover 1. It's so funny to me when I see these 1/1 allies. It's just like, what?
Recover. There's so many alterations now, man. I was watching Smendrix the other day. When you were playing my Xander, you put like a Will to Survive on an Anchor Knot. Yeah. And so then you can attack, and that sucker recovers now, man. Like,
well, like Matt Root armored the Ritualist in the recent collection game versus Underdog Swept, and I'm just thinking you root armor this, right? And it's like, okay, free if you're heavy in Charm, free meditations all day.
It's true.
I didn't even think about Ruby Cobra until I just said that a second ago. But one of the things I don't like about Ruby Cobra, I mean, it's a fatigue card, but you fatigue yourself half the time to play the Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of go even on cards with your opponent. But here, you play Rose Gardner, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to meditate for your Ruby Cobra, and you get to just play it and knock that's good.
Yeah, I love the art too. The Gwen Stacy art. It's pretty cool.
Chimera Charmer is the knight in the set. 1 Charm power, charm class, 1 basic, main action. It's a 2/4/2 with subdue. So when it comes into play, you can resolve a charm die in your exhausted pool without paying its cost. So you place a charm die on an opponent's unit. And it's imbued. Its attack is increased by 1 for each unit an opponent controls with a charm die on it. Thoughts?
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's a lot worse than Emberheart, personally. Like, I don't know. I think I probably downplayed Emberheart, or I wasn't sure if it was good or not. I don't know. I was probably in the Waffle House on that one, I feel like. But I think your Xander deck has Emberheart in it, and whew, that alert, like an alert 4/5 that you don't have to pay for the, willpower on it, is the sauce. And like looking at this like 2/4, maybe some attack and doesn't have alert, I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't really get me going.
Yeah, I was originally higher on it than I am now, but it is part of the combo piece. So it's I think it has the high upside, but overall it's going to be, I mean, I don't see ever really playing 3 of them.
I mean, I think if you build for the synergy with the charm dice, and that's a really good point, it is effectively a 2/4 for 2 dice, because you potentially get enough value, or a 3/4 really for 2 dice if you get enough value out of that charm die.
Yeah.
That's really
that's
good.
the key. I do think it's a 3 of in the decks that want charm dice everywhere. I think it has to be.
This plus Royal Charm makes it 1 cost, right?
Sort of. I mean,
effectively.
Yeah. I mean, not exactly, but like, you know what I mean. It's you're cheating in 2 dice powers,
4/4.
and it makes it a 4/4. That makes it pretty aggressive. That's probably the best place for it. And if you can find a way to toss on some sort of refresh call to action.
Yeah, like I'm gonna build that Jericho with Shimmer Wings, and it's gonna have Royal Charm in 3 of these.
It could be interesting. I think that's the thing, is it has interesting potential.
All right, let's talk about the spells. A lot of these feel super situational to me, so maybe we can move relatively quickly. But Farewell, I think we have to start with. If you've stuck around for our takes on Farewell, congratulations, although I'm not sure they're going to be particularly interesting. It's an action spell, main action and a side, and it costs X charm class. And it says discard a target unit an opponent controls with a life value of X. If you do, discard X cards off the top of that target opponent's draw pile.
I have top 10 card of Ashes of like the entire card pool, not just this set. It's so good.
Whoa. No Waffle House for you.
I don't know if it's top 10.
In terms of removal, it's insane. The number of things it answers, like any single change to this card would have made it mediocre. If it had been specifically, I don't know, target ally or target conjuration, or if it hadn't. I mean, your idea, Killy, this was basically your idea, but it was fixed at 1, and this has insane upside. But just the number of 1 unit or 1 life units that are problematic and have destroy effects, this is crazy. And then it also contributes. Like, you don't even have to care if you're on a mill plan. Who cares? If you have 1 single charm dice, I don't see how this isn't a 3 of in every deck.
It's very, very good. I mean, we can obviously talk about how it discards and doesn't destroy, so it does stuff like deny your creepers blooming into seeds, and your sleeping widows, and your fallen tokens, and your chant of transfusion tokens, and it does all that stuff that we've needed a card to do for a long time, I think, in this game. So phenomenal from that standpoint.
And Wishing Wing and Butterfly Monk and
everything. Yeah. There's so many on destroy effects. But I mean, I've been playing this Leo Turbo Mill deck quite a bit, and everybody, I played Chaos Theory today, and he was talking about it all in Discord like all afternoon. You know how many times I'm playing that deck? Trauma. Yeah. You know how many times I'm playing that deck and I get to like the middle of a round and I got like 4 dice left and I'm sitting there and it's like we're in this locked up prison board state and I'm like I don't really need to spend these dice. I mean I'll spend them on stuff, but like I don't really need to. I could just like explode a Sonic Swordsman with Farewell and make them discard 4 cards off the top of their deck. Like, and I would totally do that in that deck a bunch of times.
I know somebody's like Red King is going to memorialize or shared sorrow this thing, or not. What's not shared sorrow? Is it shared sorrow the one that recurs? Yeah.
I don't know how that works with X. I think you may have to do it counts as 0, so it won't be doing any damage.
Yeah, you have to discard a ready spell or something, and you wouldn't do any damage. You just get it back.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Nonetheless.
But yeah, this is a phenomenal card that's gonna make Charm. I should say it has the potential to make Charm more widely played than it is just by existing.
I will probably run a lot of this card, if only because I turn into a quivering mass of fear and anxiety when I see creepers. And this will be like my warm security blanket.
Yeah.
I carry around with me everywhere. It'll be my binky. I like it. It's a good card.
Yeah, it's too bad nobody played creepers in collection because it's about to be a lot tougher to play that card.
Okay, the only other ready spell, the utility ready spell in the set, and I think there's only 3 ready spells here. It's a bit of an awkward collection of Phoenixborn because you've got Leo with 3 spellboard slots, and then the Mayoni has 5, and Saria and Astria have 4. But it's Snakebite, and it's a side action charm power. When this spell comes into play, you may choose a charm die in your exhausted pool and resolve its dice power without paying its cost. So it's another way to cheat. It's the only other way to cheat in a charm die. And then it's a main action exhaust. Deal 1 damage to a target unit with a charm die on it. Focus 1. You may instead deal 1 damage to a target Phoenixborn whose owner has no cards in their draw pile.
When I first read this card, I was like, it's terrible. I was like shut off immediately. But I do that a lot. I said the same thing about Chant Transfusion, famously. But this, I still don't think this is great, but it does do free damage, and like we shouldn't discount that. Free damage is good. You don't find that very often. Chant of Erosion also does free damage, by the way, and that card should be played more. But anyway, this card does hit. I mean, assuming you're cheating the charm die out, and I mean this thing cheats a charm die by itself
once.
But if you have one time, yeah. But if you've got Royal Charm and you've got the Chimera Charmers and you're cheating out charm dice throughout the game, it is free damage. I mean, free damage is good.
I think Matt Bowers would agree with you. Free damage is good. Yeah, I don't know. I can see potential, but the real question is, it's not a first 5 card, I don't think.
I'm not so sure about that.
Or it's a weird I don't know. It's a weird first 5 card. I'll put it that way. I don't know. I think the free damage is interesting. Again, if you're on that charm engine, I'm not sure about how effective the focus effect is going to be.
It's worth noting that you can just kill a 1-life unit with this right away.
Yeah. No, I know.
Like, side action, play Snakebite, main action, activate it, kill something. I mean, for 1 die, like, that's not bad.
Is that worth the card? Or sorry, not is it worth the card? Is it worth...
Well, and then it's on your spell board.
Well, okay, but that's the thing, right? It's interesting that the Phoenixborn that this came in, Leo's the one that I just don't see running this. Mayoni, there's potential because she's got 5 slots. So whether you start it or whether you draw into it, fine.
Well, if you're playing Venom Strike, you're playing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But you guys hate Venom Strike, so you would never play this.
My big issue with it is simply that, yes, it's free damage, but it's also free damage that you have to put on something that you've already put a charm
that
die
you already
on.
weakened, right?
Yeah, so it's like that's not your highest priority target to damage. Like I think that damage is kind of like end of the round damage. Like I don't want this thing surviving into next round. Like I got my Venom Strike off or my imbued Chimera Charmer did its thing and now I want that unit gone. I don't know. I am still where Killer was when he first read it. I think it's terrible, but I am prepared to be very wrong.
It helps you win the bear trades, right? You nerf their bear, you deal damage, and then you swing into it. It pressures guard in a really like undesirable way.
Yeah.
Boosts the Badger, obviously, which is sort of a key thing.
And it does, like, once you get a couple of these things out, you know, now you're talking about, like, say I had 3 of these out, right? Now I'm doing 3 damage to something for like, I'm just wiping a knight off the board almost for free. I mean, it takes me 3 main actions to do it, but
I don't think you'd ever do that, like, not 3 in a turn. Oh, I guess if you're stuck. Okay, let's put it this way. 3 frog pings in a game are worth it. And if you can afford the spell board slot, then okay. So it only matters as to whether A, you have the combo
and the deck slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the focus effect is interesting too, but I think I prefer Orchid Dove's focus effect.
This focus effect is only interesting if you're playing a fatigue game. Or I guess a really long, like, control game. I mean, you don't have to have, like, a complete fatigue-focused deck, I don't think, to use this, because it's also a control card, so it can inherently help you slow a game down, and maybe just, you know, maybe you're playing one of these grindy games that gets to fatigue naturally versus, you know, you're, like, abundancing and discarding all their deck.
I think we can all agree that of the 2 bites, it's the worst one.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Frostbite is the superior bite.
Yeah. It does look pretty bad, honestly, in comparison to Frostbite, now that you say that.
Yeah, and that's been my point of comparison, is like, I get unconditional... Yes, I have to spend a die, but the first time I put this down, I have to spend a die. Frostbite's free to play. So it's kind of equivalent, and you know, you don't have to activate your Frostbites, but that puts such a clear clock on so many games and can really bail you out when you need removal. All right, dealer's choice. It's side action, charm class. Choose 2 cards a target opponent controls, at least one of which must be a unit. If you do, that opponent must place 1 exhaustion token on one of the chosen cards.
I think this is it's probably my favorite, or at least it's the most fun, I think. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but as far as I like generosity in various decks, and to me, this is... It's just so fun. I can imagine hilarious scenarios where you just put your opponent into really bad choices between exhaust your spell board or whatever and a unit, and neither of the choices are good. I don't know. I think it's super cool, and it's perfectly costed side action. Like it does things I like to do. I don't know if it's jank or not, but it's one of my favorite cards.
Yeah, normally cards where you give an opponent the choice aren't good, but
old card player maxim.
Yeah, you also don't get an exhaustion token for 1 die very often. I mean, that's not true. I mean, there are stuff like Lightbringer and Bloodchains and that kind of thing, but like, I guess compare it to Lightbringer, where, I mean, people play Lightbringers pretty often, right? And you're giving the opponent the choice there on what to exhaust. I mean, unless they only have 1 guy out. I don't know. I think it's pretty darn good. I just think it's going to be a timing card, right? It's like generosity. When generosity is awesome when you play it at the right time in the right situation. If you don't have that situation, it's just okay.
What happens if your opponent doesn't have 2 cards?
I don't think you can play it then.
No, you can't. You have to choose 2 cards, okay, so you can't play. Yeah, but I just think about, like, it can even work potentially. I'm trying to think if it actually works now. First 5.
It'd be sick if you could play when they only have one card down. It's like they start with Frostback Bear, and you're just like, nope.
Yeah, yeah.
No, at least one has to be a unit. That's why I was asking, because like you can't exhaust their first book, but if they put a Realm Walker down, could you just be like, nope?
No, that doesn't handle that scenario. But like, I'm just thinking, I'm back on the Leo train lately because Shadowblade's good. But I just love the idea of going against somebody who's running books, and then you exhaust one turn, you put a unit down, and then they put some ally or something else, and you're just like, now you have a bad choice no matter what you do.
What happens if you choose a card that has Spell Guard? It doesn't say you don't target the card, so
that's true.
I feel like I could choose a card with Spell Guard
for sure,
but I don't think they could exhaust it, right? Like, so, like, say they have like
a mag,
like a Massive Growth Hydra out, and I'm like, I play Dealer's Choice, and I choose Hydra and Massive Growth.
Yeah.
And then, do they have to exhaust the Hydra then? Because they can't.
Oh no, I think no, because you're
Massive Growth is guarded.
No, because you're choosing target opponent. Oh no, but you still choose.
I'm choosing 2 cards that target opponent controls.
Yeah.
I mean, Spellguard. What I don't know what Spellguard says. I have to look it up.
But one of the cards can be the Phoenixborn, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of cool too, is the flexibility of it. I don't know. It's just like there's so many fun things.
Yeah.
This Spellguard says this card cannot be affected by an opponent's spell.
Oh God, is that old verbiage? Affected is problematic.
Well, that's what Massive Growth says. Is there what's new that has Spell Guard? The Awakened State?
This is a SCAC question for sure. This is above my pay grade.
No, there's one other.
It says exactly the same thing. So I feel like you could choose it. Maybe you can't even choose it. I don't know. But if you can choose it, that's disgusting, because then you can just exhaust whatever you want. Because I assume it can't exhaust. You can't exhaust it.
Here's the definition, the glossary definition for choose. Some effect asks players to choose something, for example, targets, options, or other game elements. Choosing a card or other game element does not by itself affect or target it, but may cause an effect to affect it. So
you can choose it.
So you can't Golden Veil this either then.
So I can choose Massive Growth with this.
Right.
No,
you can vanish it. Yeah.
You can vanish it, but you cannot Golden Veil it. So when Under Rug Swept plays Hydra and Massive Growth, I can just play Dealer's Choice and exhaust the Hydra. That's sick.
When Fallen player plays one Fallen book, Open Memories plays another Fallen book, you just target both. Oh no, there has to be.
No, one's got to be a unit.
It has to be a unit.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Or one, Mayoni Root Armor. Now I pick the Snake and the Root Armor. So you have to exhaust one of those.
They exhaust the Root Armor.
Is the armor inexhaustible though? I don't know how that would work.
I guess you could probably exhaust the Root Armor.
Root Armor, doesn't it assign, or isn't it like the same thing with Gravity?
Oh yeah, does it Summon Silver Snake has Spell Guard, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
All right, so against Mayoni, it's just always pay 1 die, exhaust whatever unit you want.
No, because
awesome.
they could still exhaust.
Pick the Snake.
Yeah, they can still pick the Snake because this doesn't target the card.
No, but I'm saying I can choose. So I can choose Summon Silver Snake and a unit.
Oh, but they can't exhaust it because it can't be affected.
No, they can. They can exhaust it.
But can they? It can't be affected by a card the opponent controls.
Oh God, we need SCAC on our podcast now.
It says if you do that opponent. Oh yeah. I don't know.
So maybe the opponent can say, well, I want you to exhaust Summon Silver Snake, and then it just doesn't work, and the spell does nothing. I guess that's possible, too. Yeah, we're going to get SCAC on the phone.
If it can exhaust Summon Silver Snake, it's so sick against Mayoni. Because she plays Silver Snake. She exhausts the Silver Snake book. Now you're saying exhaust the snake right now so you don't get to use it this round, or double exhaust the book.
Yeah.
So you can't summon another one.
I don't think there's any situation in which it can place an exhaustion token on Summon Silver Snake. That's not going to work.
I mean, as soon as we're done, I'm asking, or screw it, I'll ask now.
But it might force her to exhaust the snake. because she can't exhaust the spell. Or Dealer's Choice just doesn't do anything because she'll choose the spell and the exhaustion token doesn't go on. That's probably the answer, and it's not as fun.
I definitely think there's some interesting play here. And you said compare it with Lightbringer, but I'd also think about pairing this with Lightbringer. It's like...
Agreed.
Lightbringer main action, Dealer's Choice side action on the 2 units. It's like, you're going to have to attack, and you're going to have to attack with the one that you don't exhaust. So they're both going to be exhausted. Yeah,
that's cool too. And I think Noah likes this card too, by the way.
Yeah, I think that Treatment said Leo because Shadowblade is cool. I think he meant Noah.
I said Noah.
Shadowblade is cool. No, you said Leo.
No.
We'll play it back.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I just like like shadow targeting a spell and then Dealer's Choice pick that again and say, all right, this thing's dead for a while now unless you exhaust the unit.
Yeah. Double tapping things. That's the fun choice.
That is the fun choice. I like it. Okay.
And that's it. Those are the only cards that matter because the next two suck.
I really like the fact that it can't be Golden Veiled means choosing 2 units is really good with Dealer's Choice. I think that alone makes it interesting to me, to be honest.
Yeah, if they have 2 good units out, I mean, that's a really good value for 1 die, for sure.
Yeah. Now we get to the 2 real weird ones. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, Embrace.
You don't even want to talk about them because they're so bad.
I don't want to talk about them. They're just Embrace. Side action charm class. It's an alteration spell that attaches to a Phoenixborn. After any player's Phoenixborn is dealt damage by an attack, spell, ability, or dice power another player controls, discard the spell and prevent that damage from being received.
I don't like this card.
It's a weird card.
I think this card is trashed here. I don't think I've ever had such... It's like, I don't understand how it even does the thing it's supposed to do. I'm playing a burn deck, like...
It does, exactly. It doesn't do...
Fire Archer. Congratulations. I don't know.
It doesn't even stop us. It doesn't do what Safeguard does for... Like, you play it, and as soon as you're dealt 1 damage on a wide swing, all of a sudden it's gone, and you take the rest of the damage.
Yep.
I don't understand this card. You guys are to blame.
Hey, it was after me, man. This thing was done by the time I came on.
I was pretty clear I didn't think highly of this card.
This is bad. I don't understand.
The only deck it goes in is Prison, right? That's the only thing it goes in?
But why wouldn't you play Safeguard?
Because you can play this forever. I don't have to time it. I can just play it and let it sit there for a while.
Yeah, you have to Polarity Mage tricks too.
You still have to time it because your opponent has Frostbite down. Like, I mean,
if my opponent...
They just literally swing something. Like, they swing any unit.
This card heals you for... heals you for 1. That's what this card does.
Yeah.
Unless it's like you're 3 life away from dying and they have Molten Gold, and you play this, then all right, now it's good.
Or you're facing Odette and they just finally enter the fray something and then still swing and kill you. I don't know.
This card is good for Rin in the art on this card.
Well, you would never play it against Odette ever.
Yeah. Well, you're deck building, so.
Yeah, Rin enjoys the card.
Does Odette... I mean, I don't think even... It doesn't... Odette still takes damage from her own dice, her own ability, so it doesn't turn off Embrace. Like, she can still take damage while Embrace is on, and it doesn't discard Embrace.
No, that's my point, is that the Odette player takes damage to themselves, and then it doesn't... Because it's any player's Phoenixborn, it drops off.
No, it doesn't. It has to be... The opponent has to hit you.
No, from an opponent... Yeah. It's from an ability that your opponent controls. So
what?
Self-inflicted damage does not knock it off.
So it doesn't stop self-inflicted damage.
And it won't drop off from self-inflicted damage.
Oh, or dice power another player. Okay, I didn't see the word opponent. Yeah, okay, I see. So you can't self-inflict.
Am I wrong and think, Maoni is the last Phoenixborn I would have expected to hug somebody?
Well, there's the whole lore. No, the Rin Maoni dating thing, and then the bat, I don't know if you've read though.
That was I didn't know that was a thing. They were an item.
He fell in love with her, and then he was at her palace, and in the middle of the night, he had that's when the Phoenix or whatever power touched him, and he had a nightmare where everyone was going to murder each other. So that's when he left back to the Frostwild and vowed to basically destroy all the other Phoenixborn, something like that. It's on the wiki. It's the lore's been tracked.
I should read the lore. More through one day. I did not know Renoni was a thing that we can ship.
Yeah. So that's why it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think most decks. Here's the issue fundamentally is like most decks that want to do damage to the opposing Phoenixborn have enough ways of doing it in small increments that I think it's very hard to get value out of this card. So, yeah. Arrogance.
Yeah, more than one value.
Yeah.
You're going to get heal one, but that's all it does.
Yeah.
If I wanted to heal one, I'll play Mass Heal with Divine.
Yeah.
I know that ultimately
Agreed.
the three of us are going to come back a week later after and be like, Red King
one of us is going to get dumpstered by Embrace, and we're going to be whining about it for a really long time. But that's our brand, and we're protecting our brand. So, all right. Arrogance, reaction spell, 1 charm class. You may play this spell after you declare attackers. Choose an attacking unit. For the remainder of the turn, the chosen unit can not be blocked or guarded against by units with a charm die on them.
This is the only way that like the Maoni Snake Venom Strike crap can be saved. I still don't think it's good, but at least Arrogance exists to let the snake get through now. I don't know. I mean, this isn't bad. It's okay. It's a worse than standstill bypass card that you have to do a lot more work to get online.
Yeah. I was just starting to wonder, how does this compare, or does it compare in any way to Gifted Rose? It's not obviously stopping Phoenixborn guarding.
It's got better art. It's a weird card.
I don't know either. It is.
It's weird, right? It stops unit guards.
It feels like it's in this class of like highly specific reactions like disengage and stasis and backtrack.
Don't trash talk stasis. Stasis is underplayed as a tempo
stasis
card.
Is cool. I just mean it's like in this class of cards. It's like, yes, like theoretically cool, but in practice, like there are just much simpler ways to accomplish a similar goal. Like even like there are 2 cards that we haven't, or really 3 cards really in some sense that we haven't talked about that also care about charm die to some degree, like Mind Fog Owl, Captivate, and Ruby Cobra. Ruby Cobra not being able to be attacked by cards with charm die on them. Captivate destroying, when it comes into play, an exhausted unit with a charm die on it. Mind Fog Owl cheats is another way to cheat dice onto it. But like even just Mind Fog Owl, like and Frostback Bear, Foggy Bear, like that just feels like a more straightforward way of accomplishing bypass with charm dice. Now, you know, you could pair it with Arrogance, but like I don't know. I think it just feels like one step too many to me.
I think Arrogance goes in Foggy Bear. I think it's better than Standstill there, potentially.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
But do you need it? I don't know.
I don't know, but I think it goes in there.
Focused Mind Fog is something I want to go to. I like it. You said Ruby Cobra, and I was like, what are you talking about? I had to pull it up because I completely forgot. Charming. This cannot be targeted by attack. What?
The most ignored ability in the entire game. I don't know what it's called, by the way.
Charming. It's called Charming.
It was called Charming. Okay.
So it's very, yeah. It interests me.
Yeah, so you got a massive growth of Ruby Cobra, and then say you can't attack it. I don't know.
Can't attack it.
It's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, not currently, but with all these new tools, I don't know. I do think Royal Charm is...
You play a deck with only Ruby Cobras.
No, but
no
just
other units, and then you charm stuff, and they can't get attacked.
well, Ruby Cobra,
It's
Mindfog
like having
Owl,
a shield mage out all the time.
right? They can't kill the Ruby Cobra when you drop it, and then you're like, okay, Ruby Cobra with a Mindfog Owl is just a silly nonsense.
Yeah, they can't attack your Ruby Cobra. Like, so what?
It's not inexhaustible. That's a shame. It would have been cool if Charming was inexhaustible.
Oh yeah, they just wait till you swing it and then they get to kill it anyway. Yeah, that's why it's the most forgotten ability.
Does Captivate have any use now?
Captivate, no. No. It's still not good enough for what it does. And maybe it's a little better if you can cheat charm dice on the stuff, but I still think it's not great. I don't know, maybe you like side action Snake Bite.
Yeah, main action Captivate.
Put it on an exhausted unit, main action Captivate. I don't know.
Well, you got to do it in Echo, so then you accelerate Gravity Flux.
Well, you know what? We're back to our territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple 3-card, 2 ready spell. I mean, yeah, that's probably a good synergy, Captivate and Snakebite in theory, but like, who's got 2 ready spell slots to spend on pointless utility spells?
2 free spellboard slots to do that. You know who does? The Mayoni deck that doesn't play Silver Snake, that wants to put charm dice on stuff. Maybe she plays Captivate.
Clue's got I forget what it's called now. If books could kill, and it used Captivate, Keepsake, and whatever, and that would be interesting with this whole like Snakebite thing, where as long as you're willing to take the damage, or if you pull them out of position, maybe with Lightbringer, like say you get hit by a knight, and then you're just like, okay, Snakebite, and then blow it up for 1 effectively. No, 2. It still costs 2.
3.
No, 2 for 2. Captivate.
Well, you gotta.
Oh, well, I meant like whatever. I don't care about the light. I'm just meant.
And
like,
you gotta play a
pull
Lightbringer now too. Like you spent 3 dice to get hit in the face with a knight, and then you killed it for.
Well, you still. You still have.
It just doesn't seem good.
I don't care if if there's another way of exhausting it, or if you just take the hit. It's garbage.
All right. Well, it's been a snappy hour and 48 minutes. Although some of that includes our pre-pod ramble. But I would be curious to hear you guys say, both in general, like which... describe the effects, if any, which cards you think are going to be most impactful and meaningful on the 3 big win cons. So like swing, fatigue, burn. And is there a specific deck or 2 that you believe in, that you've seen worked, or that you want to build, that you're excited about to try with these cards?
Am I allowed to say farewell for all 3?
Yes, sure.
It's farewell's the best card for swing. Farewell's the best card for fatigue, for sure.
It doesn't advance any of their conditions, really. Well, it
advances the crap out of the fatigue.
Out of the fatigue.
I think.
You're probably going to use it for 1. I guess it depends how hard you're in charm. So you could blow up something big, but really you're probably using it for 1, maybe 2. So it's not bad.
Maybe Shimmer Wing is the best burn card. I don't know.
I think. Well, are we saying uniques too?
Or Rose Gardner?
Yeah, I mean, Judgment could be interesting. It could be really interesting. I know you guys. Like I don't know where it fits. If it's a burn deck, if it's a swing deck, if it's a mill deck.
A mill deck.
I think it's or fatigue. Sorry, it's probably a fatigue or burn card to me. Farewell is just a generically good card. I don't think it necessarily is like a super push in any direction or elevating a single plan. It's just good across all 3. So it's kind of hard to say. Shimmerwing is probably
maybe Dealer's Choice is the best swing card. I need to see how that works. I think that can do some cool stuff.
Dealer's Choice is actually interesting as a swing card in Mindfog Owl decks by itself. Forget Foggy Bear, because then you could potentially, if you could massive growth the Mindfog Owl, Dealer's Choice becomes a really cool way to guarantee that you're always 1-up on the battlefield, right? Like, you pick 2 units, they have to exhaust one. Now you swing with 2 units of your own, and suddenly your Mind Fog Owl that's boosted can't be blocked.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that may be a really good swing card. I like that call.
Well, Shimmer Wing is interesting. I think you can put it in different. I think it can go in again all 3, but it's more of like none of these cards scream any given archetype to me, at least not yet. I haven't really been putting anything together. What's interesting is that they are some sort of combo piece and you can fit them in each type of deck. And it's really about how they're either pushing a threat or distracting from a threat. And the control element that they add if you're going with the charm power is very interesting.
Yeah, I am looking forward to the set releasing. That I can say. I can't wait to have new cards and shake this meta up a little bit. And I want to get janky with some of these new things.
Yeah, I definitely feel the jank flowing in the set more than the nature set. I like it.
Yeah.
I think what I could see rising to the top with these new really high-powered removal options, and I'm thinking about Willpower, Judgment, and Farewell as the 3, is the oops all removal mill decks that we've played with Saria in particular, but I think Astria gets one here too, and that makes me at least a little nervous. It's not a particularly fun deck to play against because it's so hard to generate threats and make them stick. But I am gonna have fun, I think, building those decks, crushing the dreams of my opponents.
Yeah. I
we'll
do
see.
think it will shift the meta again, which is always nice. Or at least twist it in different ways, because we faced all of a sudden, Bear came back, and in some ways some of these cards push the Foggy Bear plane if you want to go with Mind Fog Owl again, but also it nerfs a lot of units and makes trading more interesting or more difficult, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, we're gonna see where it goes. I'm excited. At least this one, I'm happy. Like I said,
guys, I'm gonna call it. I don't think Snake Out is gonna be one of our.
I was just looking forward to signing off with it.
I was gonna say we should at least see how it feels.
All right, Treatment.
What's the mouth feel of Snake Out?
Give it a spin, Treatment.
All right,
let's hear it.
Thanks everyone. This has been a fun episode. As always, we're the Jankyard. Frog up, wolf down, snake out, and if you're not janky, you're stanky. Have a good night.
So
good night.
That worked out better than I thought.